Mary Jane Mae West, August 17, 1893 – November 22, 1980, was an American actress, singer, playwright, screenwriter, and sex symbol whose entertainment career spanned 7 decades. Known for her body double entendres, West made a name for herself in vaudeville and on the stage in New York City before moving to Hollywood to become a comedienne, actress, and writer in the motion picture industry. For her contributions to American cinema, the American Film Institute named West 15th among the greatest female stars of classic American cinema. One of the more controversial movie stars of her day, West encountered many problems, including censorship. When her cinematic career ended, she continued to perform in Las Vegas, in the United Kingdom, and on radio and television, and to record rock and roll albums. Asked about the various efforts to impede her career, West replied, "I believe in censorship. I made a fortune out of it." Early life and career. West was born Mary Jane West in Bushwick, Brooklyn on August 17, 1893, having been delivered at home by an aunt who was a midwife. She was the eldest surviving child of John Patrick West and Matilda Tilly Delker, sometimes spelled Dilker, who, with her 5 siblings, had emigrated with their parents, Jacob and Christiana, from the German state of Bavaria in 1886. West's parents married on January 18, 1889, in Brooklyn and reared their children as Protestants. Although John West was of mixed Catholic Protestant descent, her father was a prize fighter known as Battling Jack West, who later worked as a special policeman, and later had his own private investigations agency. Her mother was a former corset and fashion model. Her paternal grandmother, Mary Jane, née Copley, for whom she was named, was of Irish Catholic descent, and West's paternal grandfather, John Edwin West, was of English Scots descent and a ship's rigger. Her eldest sibling, Katie, died in infancy. The other siblings were Mildred Catherine West, later known as Beverly, December 8, 1898 – March 12, 1982, and John Edwin West, II, sometimes inaccurately called John Edwin West, Jr., February 11, 1900 – October 12, 1964. During her childhood, West's family moved to various parts of Woodhaven, as well as the Williamsburg and Greenpoint neighborhoods of Brooklyn. It was in Woodhaven, at Nares Social Hall, which opened in 1829 and is still extant, that West supposedly first performed professionally. West was 5 when she first entertained a crowd at a church social, and she started appearing in amateur shows at the age of 7. She often won prizes at local talent contests. She began performing professionally in vaudeville in the Hal Clarendon Stock Company in 1907 at the age of 14. West first performed under the stage name Baby May, and tried various personas including a male impersonator, Sis Hopkins, and a blackface coon shouter. She used the alias Jane Mast early in her career. Her trademark walk was said to have been inspired or influenced by female impersonators Bert Savoy and Julian Elting, who were famous during the pansy craze. Her first appearance in a Broadway show was in a 1911 revue a la Broadway put on by her former dancing teacher, Ned Wayburn. The show folded after 8 performances, but at age 18, West was singled out and discovered by the New York Times. The Times reviewer wrote that a girl named Mae West, hitherto unknown, pleased by her grotesque, wary and snappy way of singing and dancing. West next appeared in a show called Vera Violetta, whose cast featured Al Jolson. In 1912 she appeared in the opening performance of A Winsome Widow as a baby vamp named La Petite Daffy. She was encouraged as a performer by her mother, who, according to West, always thought that anything Mae did was fantastic. Other family members were less encouraging, including an aunt and her paternal grandmother. They are all reported as having disapproved of her career and her choices. In 1918, after exiting several high-profile revues, West finally got her break in the Schubert Brothers Revue Sometime, opposite Ed Wynn. Her character Mame danced the shimmy, and her photograph appeared on an edition of the sheet music for the popular number Everybody Shimmies Now. Eventually, she began writing her own risque plays using the pen name Jane Mast. Her first starring role on Broadway was in a 1926 play she entitled Sex, which she wrote, produced, and directed. Although critics panned the show, ticket sales were good. The production did not go over well with city officials, and the theater was raided, with West arrested along with the cast. She was taken to the Jefferson Market Courthouse, now Jefferson Market Library, where she was prosecuted on morals charges and, on April 19, 1927, was sentenced to 10 days for corrupting the morals of youth. While incarcerated on Welfare Island, now known as Roosevelt Island, she dined with the warden and his wife. She told reporters that she had worn her silk panties while serving time. She served 8 days with 2 days off for good behavior. Media attention surrounding the incident enhanced her career. Her next play, The Drag, dealt with homosexuality, and was what West called one of her comedy dramas of life. After a series of tryouts in Connecticut and New Jersey, West announced she would open the play in New York. However, The Drag never opened on Broadway due to efforts by the New York Society for the Suppression of Vice to ban any attempt by West to stage it. West was an early supporter of the women's liberation movement, movement, but said she was not a feminist. She was also an early supporter of gay rights. West continued to write plays, including The Wicked Age, Pleasure Man and The Constant Sinner. Her productions aroused controversy, which ensured that she stayed in the news, which also often resulted in packed houses at her performances. Her 1928 play, Diamond Lil, about a racy, easygoing lady of the 1890s, became a Broadway hit. This show enjoyed an enduring popularity and West would successfully revive it many times throughout the course of her career. Motion pictures. In 1932, West was offered a motion picture contract by Paramount Pictures despite being close to 40. This was an unusually high age to begin a movie career, especially for women, but she nonetheless managed to keep this fact ambiguous for some years. She made her film debut in Night After Night starring George Raft. At first, she did not like her small role in Night After Night, but was appeased when she was allowed to rewrite her scenes. In West's first scene, a hat-check girl exclaims, "Goodness, what beautiful diamonds," and West replies, "Goodness had nothing to do with it, dearie." Reflecting on the overall result of her rewritten scenes, Raft is said to have remarked, "She stole everything but the cameras. She brought her Diamond Lil character, now renamed Lady Lou, to the screen and she done him wrong." 1933. The film is also notable as one of Cary Grant's first major roles, which boosted his career. West claimed she spotted Grant at the studio and insisted that he be cast as the male lead. She claimed to have told a Paramount director, "If he can talk, I'll take him." The film was a box office hit and earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Picture. The success of the film most likely saved Paramount from bankruptcy. Her next release, I'm No Angel, 1933, paired her with Grant again. I'm No Angel was also a financial success, and was the most successful film of her entire movie career. By 1933, West was the 8th largest U.S. box office draw in the United States and, by 1935, the second highest paid person in the United States, after William Randolph Hearst. On July 1, 1934, the censorship of the production code began to be seriously and meticulously enforced, and her screenplays were heavily edited. Her next film was Belle of the 90s, 1934. Originally titled It Ain't No Sin, the title was changed due to the censor's objections. Despite Paramount's early objections regarding costs, she insisted the studio hire Duke Ellington and his orchestra to accompany her in the film's musical numbers. Their collaboration was a success. The classic My Old Flame was introduced in this picture. Her next film, Going to Town, 1934, received mixed reviews. Her following effort, Klondike Annie, 1935, dealt, as best it could given the heavy censorship, with religion and hypocrisy. Some critics called the film her screen masterpiece. That same year, West played opposite Randolph Scott in Go West, Young Man. In this film, she adapted Lawrence Riley's Broadway hit Personal Appearance into a screenplay. Directed by Henry Hathaway, Go West, Young Man is considered one of West's weaker films of the era. West next starred in Every Day's a Holiday, 1937, for Paramount before their association came to an end. After the film failed at the box office, West was put on a list of actors called Box Office Poison by Harry Brandt on behalf of the Independent Theater Owners Association. Others on the list were Greta Garbo, Joan Crawford, Marlene Dietrich, Fred Astaire, Dolores Del Rio, Katharine Hepburn, and Kay Francis. The attack was published as a paid advertisement in The Hollywood Reporter and was taken seriously by studio executives. The association argued that these stars' high salaries and extreme public popularity didn't affect their ticket sales and thus hurt the exhibitors. In 1939, Universal Pictures approached West to star in a film opposite W.C. Fields. The studio was eager to duplicate the success of Destry Rides Again starring Marlene Dietrich and James Stewart with a vehicle starring West and Fields. Having left Paramount 18 months earlier and looking for a comeback film, West accepted the role of Flower Belle Lee in the film My Little Chickadee, 1940. Despite the stars' intense mutual dislike, and fights over the screenplay, My Little Chickadee was a moderate box office success, but the film outgrossed Fields' previous film, You Can't Cheat an Honest Man, 1939, and the later The Bank Dick, 1940. West's next film was The Heat's On, 1943, for Columbia Pictures. She initially didn't want to do the film, but after producer and director Gregory Ratoff pleaded with her and claimed he would go bankrupt if she didn't, West relented. The movie opened to bad reviews and failed at the box office. West was so chastened by the experience that she would not attempt another film role for the next quarter century. Radio. On December 12, 1937, West appeared in two separate sketches on ventriloquist Edgar Bergen's radio show The Chase and Sanborn Hour. By the second half of the 1930s, West's popularity was dwindling and she went on the show eager to promote her latest movie, Every Day's a Holiday. Appearing as herself, West flirted with Charlie McCarthy, Bergen's dummy, using her usual brand of wit and risque sexual references. West referred to Charlie as all wood and a yard long and commented that his kisses gave her splinters. More outrageous still was a sketch written by Arch Oboler, starring West and Don Amici as Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden on NBC. She told Amici in the show to get me a big one. I feel like doing a big apple. This ostensible reference to the then current dance craze was one of the many double entendres in the dialogue. Days after the broadcast, the studio received letters calling the show immoral and obscene. Women's clubs and Catholic groups admonished the show's sponsor, Chase and Sanborn Coffee Company, for prostituting their services for allowing impurity to invade the air. The Federal Communications Commission later deemed the broadcast vulgar and indecent and far below even the minimum standard which should control in the selection and production of broadcast programs. There is some debate regarding the reaction to the skit. Catholic groups took umbrage far more swiftly than the mainstream. These groups already had it in for West, whom they despised, for her outspoken use of sexuality and sexual imagery, which she had employed in her career since at least the pre-code films she had made in the early 1930s. The groups reportedly warned the sponsor of the program they would protest her appearance. NBC blamed West personally for the incident and banned her, and the mention of her name, from their stations. They claimed it was not the content of the skit, but West's tonal inflections that gave it the controversial context. West would not perform in radio for a dozen years, until January 1950, in an episode of the Chesterfield Supper Club, which was hosted by Perry Como. Emeka's career did not suffer any serious repercussions, however. Middle years. After appearing in The Heat's On in 1943, West remained active during the ensuing years. Among her stage performances was the title role in Catherine Was Great, 1944, on Broadway, in which she spoofed the story of Catherine the Great of Russia, surrounding herself with an imperial guard of tall, muscular young actors. The play was produced by Mike Todd and ran for 191 performances. In the 1950s, she also starred in her own Las Vegas stage show, singing while surrounded by bodybuilders. Jane Mansfield met and later married one of West's muscle men, a former Mr. Universe, Mickey Hargitay. When casting the role of Norma Desmond for the 1950 film Sunset Boulevard, Billy Wilder offered the 57-year-old West the role. Still smarting from the failure of The Heat's On, she declined, claiming to be offended at the notion. Wilder later said, "The idea of casting Mae West was idiotic because we only had to talk to her to find out that she thought she was as great, as desirable, as sexy as she had ever been." After Mary Pickford also declined the role, Gloria Swanson was cast. In 1958, West appeared at the Academy Awards and performed the song Baby, It's Cold Outside with Rock Hudson. In 1959, she released an autobiography, Goodness Had Nothing to Do with It, which became a bestseller. Later career and final years. West made occasional appearances on television, including The Red Skelton Show in 1960. In 1964, she made a guest appearance on the sitcom Mr. Ed, demonstrating her willingness to keep in touch with the contemporary scene. She recorded a pair of rock and roll albums, Way Out West and Wild Christmas, later reissued as May and December, in the late 1960s. In 1965 she recorded two songs, Am I Too Young, and He's Good For Me, for a 45 revolutions per minute record released by Plaza Records. She also made several parody songs including Santa, Come Up to See Me on the album Wild Christmas. The April 18, 1969, issue of Life featured West at age 75. The article detailed her views on homosexuals, her generosity to certain charities, her vast real estate holdings and her desire to continue an active career in the upcoming decade. After a 27-year absence from motion pictures, West appeared as Letitia Van Allen in Gore Vidal's Myra Breckenridge, 1970, with Raquel Welch, Rex Reed, Farrah Fawcett, and Tom Selleck in a small part. The movie was a deliberately campy sex change comedy that was both a box office and critical failure. Vidal later called the film an awful joke. Despite Myra Breckenridge's mainstream failure, it did find an audience on the cult film circuit where West's films were regularly screened and West herself was dubbed the Queen of Camp. West recorded another rock album in 1968, released in 1972, on MGM Records, titled Great Balls of Fire, which covered songs by The Doors among others. Her autobiography, Goodness Had Nothing to Do with It, was also updated and republished. In 1976, she appeared on Backlot USA on CBS, where she was interviewed by Dick Cavett and sang Frankie and Johnny along with After You've Gone. That same year, she began work on her final film, Sextet, 1978. Adapted from a script written by West, daily revisions and disagreements hampered production from the beginning. Due to the numerous changes, West agreed to have her lines fed to her through a speaker concealed in her wig. Despite the daily problems, West was, according to Sextet director Ken Hughes, determined to see the film through. Despite her determination, Hughes noted that West sometimes appeared disoriented and forgetful and found it difficult to follow his directions. Her now failing eyesight made navigating around the set difficult. Hughes eventually began shooting her from the waist up to hide the out-of-shot production assistant crawling on the floor, guiding her around the set. Upon its release, Sextet was a critical and commercial failure. In August 1980, West tripped while getting out of bed. After the fall, West was unable to speak and was taken to Good Samaritan Hospital in Los Angeles where tests revealed that she had suffered a stroke. She remained in the hospital where, 7 days later, she had a diabetic reaction to the formula in her feeding tube. On September 18, she suffered a second stroke which left her right side paralyzed and developed pneumonia. By November, her condition had improved, but the prognosis was poor and she was sent home. She died there on November 22, 1980, at the age of 87. A private service was held in the Old North Church replica, in Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills, on November 25, 1980. Bishop Andre Paniccio, a friend, officiated at the entombment in the family mausoleum at Cypress Hills Abbey, Brooklyn, purchased in 1930 when her mother died. Her father and brother were also entombed there before her, and her younger sister, Beverly, was laid to rest in the last of the 5 crypts less than 18 months after West's death. For her contribution to the film industry, Mae West has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 1560 Vine Street in Hollywood. For her contributions as a stage actor in the theater world, she has been inducted into the American Theater Hall of Fame. Personal life. West was married on April 11, 1911, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to Frank Schittkiss, whose stage name was Frank Wallace, a fellow vaudevillian whom she first met in 1909. She was 17, he was 21. West kept the marriage a secret, but in 1935, after West had made several hit movies, a filing clerk discovered West's marriage certificate and alerted the press. An affidavit in which she had declared herself married, which she made during the sex trial in 1927, was also uncovered. At first, West denied ever marrying Wallace, but she finally admitted in July 1937, in reply to a legal interrogatory, that they had been married. Although legally wed, the couple never lived together as husband and wife. She insisted they have separate bedrooms, and she soon sent him away in a show of his own in order to get rid of him. She obtained a legal divorce on July 21, 1942, during which Wallace withdrew his request for separate maintenance, and West testified that she and Wallace had lived together for only several weeks. The final divorce decree was granted on May 7, 1943. In August 1913, she met an Italian-born vaudeville headliner and star of the piano accordion, Guido Darrow. Her affair went very deep, hidden, on all the emotions which would lead to their son's birth on April 11, 1914. You can't get too hot over anybody unless there's something that goes along with the sex act, can you? Darrow fell in love with her and arranged his bookings so the two could travel together. Some sources claimed the pair were married, with West using an assumed name, to avoid charges of bigamy. Their second son Andy was born on September 21, 1916. During a 1935 radio broadcast, Walter Winchell incorrectly reported that Mae West had been married to Guido's brother, Pietro. The similarly named Walter Winchell, a writer for Accordion News magazine, corrected the error. In a recent radio broadcast, Walter Winchell conveyed the information that Pietro Darrow had been married to Mae West for 4 years. As one Walter to another, I must set him right. Pietro was never married to the come up and see me sometime girl. Guido Darrow, his brother, was supposed to be the fortunate accordionist. West made no public statements indicating that she had been married to Darrow. She referred to him simply as D in her autobiography. West's biographers state that the two never married. West and Darrow split in 1916. Darrow's son claimed that years later West privately revealed that she had become pregnant by Guido, and had an abortion without his knowledge, resulting in complications which left her sick for nearly a year and reportedly unable to bear children. According to Darrow's biographer, West filed for divorce on the grounds of adultery on July 14, 1920. The divorce was granted by the Supreme Court of the State of New York on November 9 of that year. West later said, "Marriage is a great institution. I'm not ready for an institution yet." West remained close to her family throughout her life and was devastated by her mother's death in 1930. In 1930, she moved to Hollywood and into the penthouse at the new Ravenswood apartment building, where she would live until her death in 1980. After she began her movie career, her sister, brother and father followed her to Hollywood. West provided them with nearby homes, jobs, and sometimes financial support. Among West's other boyfriends was boxing champion William Jones, nicknamed Gorilla Jones. When the management at her Ravenswood apartment building barred the African-American boxer from entering the premises, ideas, West solved the problem by buying the building and lifting the ban. West had a relationship with James Timoney, an attorney 15 years her senior, in 1916 when she was a vaudeville actress. Timoney was also her manager. By the time West was an established movie actress in the mid-1930s, they were no longer a couple. However, West and Timoney remained extremely close, living in the same building, working together, and providing support for each other until Timoney's death in 1954. At 61, West became romantically involved with one of the muscle men in her Las Vegas stage show, wrestler, former Mr. California and former merchant marine Chester Rybinski. He was 30 years younger than West, and later changed his name to Paul Novak. He soon moved in with her, and their romance continued until West's death in 1980 at age 87. Novak once commented, "I believe I was put on this earth to take care of Mae West." In popular culture, during World War II, Allied aircrew called their yellow inflatable, vest-like life preserver jackets Mae West's, partly from rhyming slang for breasts and life vest and partly because of the resemblance to her torso. A Mae West is also a type of round parachute malfunction, partial inversion, which contorts the shape of the canopy into the appearance of an extraordinarily large brassiere. West has been the subject of songs, such as in the title song of Cole Porter's Broadway musical Anything Goes and in You're the Top, from the same show. One of the most popular objects of the Surrealist movement was the Mae West lip sofa, which was completed by artist Salvador Dali in 1938 for Edward James. The graph depicting the probability of uranium or other fissionable materials producing specific fission products has two peaks with a valley in the middle, is sometimes referred to as the Mae West curve. When approached for permission to allow her likeness on the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album cover, West initially refused, asking what would I be doing in a Lonely Hearts Club. The Beatles wrote her a personal letter declaring themselves great admirers of the star and persuaded her to change her mind. Mae West has a statue at Hollywood La Brea Boulevard in Los Angeles, designed by Catherine Hardwicke and built in honor of multi-ethnic leading ladies of the cinema, together with Dolores Del Rio, Dorothy Dandridge and Anna Mae Wong. An Emerson table radio model BD-197, designed by a prominent designer Alexis de Soknowski, was known as Mae West due to its unusual design resembling an ample female bosom. A sculpture consisting of a high-carbon tube construction in the shape of a hyperboloid of revolution, designed by U.S. artist Rita McBride and erected on the Effnerplatz in Munich, was named Mae West by McBride in allusion to the resemblance with the silhouette of a female dancer. Mae West is the actual Internet Metropolitan Area Exchange, Mae, point for the Western United States, located in the Market Post Tower at 55 Market Street in downtown San Jose. It's one of the oldest and most well-known Internet exchanges in the world. Broadway stage. Other plays as writer. Filmography. Discography. Albums. 1956, The Fabulous Mae West, Decca D, DL 79016, several reissues up to 2006. 1960, W.C. Fields His Only Recording plus 8 songs by Mae West, Proscenium PR 22 feet, 1966, Way Out West, Tower T, Saint 5028, 1966, Wild Christmas, Dragonet LPDG 48, 1970, the original voice tracks from her greatest movies, Decca D, DL 79176, 1970, Mae West and W.C. Fields Side by Side, Harmony HS 11374, HS 11405, 1972, Great Balls of Fire, MGM Say 4869, 1974, Original Radio Broadcasts, Mark Chapter 56 Records 643, 1987-1995, 16 sultry songs sung by Mae West Queen of Sex, Rosetta RR 1315, 1996, I'm No Angel, Jasmine CDO 4980-102, 2006, The Fabulous, Revola CR Rev 181, at least 21 singles, 78 revolutions per minute and 45 revolutions per minute, also were released from 1933 to 1973.